Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Metal Markets again. Let's switch off the noise suppression for now. We've got a bot trade running here. So I'm not sure about it. Like when I look at it, it's actually hanging above the Asia high. So I'm not sure. It's probably because of this wick. So we're gonna see what the bot plans to do with that. But yeah, so overnight was basically scratch. We're sitting like literally across all 4 funded accounts at 256, so nothing much to speak of there. But yeah, we'll see whether we can survive this. But also interestingly, there was another bot. This is the second bot on on copper that I'm running. And again, they're all based on my models, right? This is the thing that I used to do manually constantly, and now we're just doing it through some automations. So let me just make sure that this is all coming through fine. Why is that screen looking a little bit weird? So let me just, this is bothering me. That's bothering me. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the idea is that when gold tries to go outside of the Asia range, that it falls back into it with quite a bit of volume, and you can see that sort of happening on maybe better on a 5-minute time frame. So actually let me drag the bot so you can see what it was doing. So here we go. So that was the first kind of smash and volume that it qualified, but then it still needs to fall back into the range. Now, when I look at this as a human, this is where you have to have a human in the loop. I am not entirely sure about it, because what I'm seeing is that we're actually having a potential for a breakout above the Asia range. So yeah, but yeah, it identified that we had a pretty decent amount of volume on the return inside the Asia range. So that was this little arrow thing. I don't know, for me this would be more important, but obviously bot can only scan for so much. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it running. So, you know, you can't meddle too much either, but you know, we have a stop in, so it's okay. Usually by the time that I wake up, it was actually a little bit annoying because last night, so it was Monday, and I woke up and the trader rate to Ninja connection wasn't really working. So only one of the accounts actually went in, and it wasn't any of the funded ones. So I was like, I still managed to be up like 3.5K on the day. On Instagram, I actually posted sort of halfway through the day just to post something, right? But it actually managed to find another crude oil trade, so it was all fine. I mean, I don't know, we'll see. Neutral day type at the moment on copper, trying to extend a bit lower. Let me see if I can. Just gonna check something here, because we did a new update on these indicators. I'm just interested why it's not printing. Okay, hold on. This is me being a nerd. I'm sorry. I'll say hi to everyone in chat in just a minute, but I need to make sure that this is all working okay. Right. Interestingly, so you see this? Bot might be correct. I don't know. Oh god, yeah, so I needed to fall back into the Asia range again, right? So then it will be, you know, okay, if it doesn't, then this means that it is truly a breakout. and a failed auction actually. But what I don't like about it is that this failed auction, just from me looking at it, is a little bit too deep of a test. So you don't really want to see failed auctions that are that deep, because then you're getting into more of an auction fade territory. We can talk about the differences between those two. Let me just anchor this to the single range. Ah, that's why, because I have a typo. That was my mistake. That's fine. So neutral day on copper means that there is a pretty decent chance of them rotating higher through this area. But there might be some drama there. What are the gamma levels doing? So gamma levels on copper, so we are having an interesting shift in the gamma levels. Yesterday the major kind of gamma wall was at 650. Now that's actually climbed up to 675. So that's intriguing. The levels that are around here, they're kind of weaker, but they do have some anomalies around them. And when I say anomalies, it means looking at Greeks as well as the open interest, and then kind of trying to find strikes that have something going there that is a little bit off or odd when it comes to implied volatility and a few other things. But yeah, so no other levels here really. What I also like to do, I like to have a look at Mentor Q side of things for the end of day snapshot, because those levels can be reactive. It's just that I find them a little bit too like bunched up, and then I'm like, well, should I use this one? Should I use that one? Should I use, like, what is going on? But for the end of day snapshots, I literally want to see where the core resistances were last night, as well as GEX 1, 2, and 3. So they still have it as a gamma wall from the end of days at 657, but there is also a core resistance higher up. And this snapshot was done for London, so yeah. I mean, it looks fine, yeah. Not too many differences, actually. Yeah, interesting. All right. Our gold friend here is trying to turn around. Now, these two are correlated, so copper and gold are reasonably well correlated, but they're not like twinsies, right? They're not going to be like going like NQ and ES on most days. Copper yesterday, if you look at how copper behaved, so this is the London session yesterday versus gold yesterday. So let me just remove this volume profile. So gold yesterday very quiet, muted, and yet look at copper. It just screamed to the upside, broke out of the Asia range, and just just carried on. So I caught a piece of that, but I also caught this one as a second trade of the day, which was the classic failed auction that rotated very nicely all the way to the top. That was a very drama-free trade. I don't know whether we're going to have drama-free trades today, because it's looking a little bit more sketchy than yesterday. And yesterday there was, like I said, a beautiful, beautiful setup in gold during Tokyo. So if I do a multi-view, beautiful breakout on Tokyo, and it just kind of, yeah, a bit of drama for the pre-Tokyo break, and then it just nicely dripped down and to profits. So that was a trade that I missed, or the pot. No, I didn't miss it. The bots missed it. So yeah. Hey, it happens. It's technology, right? You can't have it all the time. All right, let's say hi to chat. See who's around. What's going on? We have Raphael and Keith. Good morning. John Jones, 3 times, like Beetlejuice, is it? Beetlejuice. Earring one, what is the crime? Kevin, Rich has joined us. Oh my god, Rich, I haven't seen you in a while. I know you were on DMs and Twitter every so often, but yeah, good to see you here. Andrea, 7, Hebu, 11 Shock, Vartang, Mohammed, Crypto Trades, Kelvin, Sandeep, Act Trades, am I doing that? Dropping in before Coach Paul's class. I don't know whether Coach Paul still has a class for now. Except my sister has joined us. Hello, Sandy. Mr. G says nerds are cool. Apparently that is the case. Where nerds are cool now. Let's have a look. Initial Maverick. Yeah, so all the usual suspects. Danny, do I still use Q points? Yes, but we have to use them on larger time frames. So I always say, when it comes to Q points, they're part of the supply and demand side of things. So if I go, yeah, let's have a look at supply and demand actually, because I was doing some other things here to try and fish for some bugs on the indicators that are a little bit more complex. So I didn't put the supply and demand, but here we go. So again, let's make this bigger. I have the multi-time frame switched on here, right? So if sorry, that was the, no, that was a 30-minute. Okay, this is looking pretty clean actually from the supply and demand point of view. But if I switch on the multi-time frame, yes, there is a localized 4-hour Q high. There it is, right? It's only good for a directional read, just like you wouldn't trade from like a daily or 4-hour supply and demand. In the same vein, you wouldn't be using 4-hour Q points to go, well, that's the Q point, let me just automatically short it, right? You have to smush the profile day type with whatever open sentiment is and the current order flow and price action. So what do we have? Well, we had an attempt at breakout above the Asia high. That will be against the 4-hour Q high. Now the bot correctly predicted here that we're going to have maybe a fall back into the Asia range, which is fine. Right now it's still teasing the Asia range. But which of the two, longs or shorts, into a big supply and a 4-hour Q point, which of the two would be more conducive to that large time frame outlook? The short, right? Because if you're up at a swing extreme, which is what Q points are, and they're basically quartile points, it's kind of like fibs, but I always forget about like the whole fib thing where it's like goes 67.2 or is it 78.6? Like I could never really get that into my head. I think I have like, what's it called? Like it's not dyslexia, it's like dyscalculia or something. It's like the same thing but with numbers. Like my brain sometimes flips the numbers. I think that's the reason why I don't gel well with like time and sales window, and why anything like footprint charts, anything that has like just pure numbers on it, my brain just can't process that. I need the visual cues in order to make sense of whatever the hell is going on. You just give me pure numbers and I'm just like, I'm lost. Like it's just how my brain is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just maybe me being wired a slightly different way. Is that fair to say? Because my husband is dyslexic, so I know that, you know, he's an extremely intelligent guy, but he gets words wrong. So I'm kind of the same way. I obviously have a high IQ, but I get the numbers wrong. If they're just pure numbers, but give it to me in nice little pretty pictures as if I'm 3 years old, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that, like I can see stuff that most people can't see. But give me just pure numbers and time and sale, and I'm like, is that absorption? I'm not sure. I don't know. But give me bookmap with like pretty bubbles and everything and a little bit of numbers. Yeah, I can read that pretty well. So, you know. Ooh, we got a bit of a sweep there. Okay, maybe the bot is correct. It was a bit scary. A bit scary. We'll see. We'll see. We still need a confident reacceptance of the Asia range, kind of like the value acceptance, but we're using the entirety of the Asia range to do that. Right. That seems like a really big target. I need to have a look at, I think I changed something like on Friday, because that really should be, yeah, that's weird. It wants to rotate through the entirety of the Asia session. I don't know whether that's the right call today. Again, fighting the bots. Let's have a look. I see many traders Andrea says, I see many traders talking about an incoming bullish run on copper based on the current situation in the Middle East. I agree with that, actually, because you have, so anytime you have supply disruptions because of the transport situation, and that's what we have with Strait of Hormuz, right? We have a problem with ships passing through. That is going to affect the supply of copper. Now, if the supply is affected, what happens? Well, the demand rises for it, and that in turn should, in theory, push copper prices up. They're already up. They're already up. Let's have a look at copper here. So, if we look at it from a daily time frame, it's already at the all-time high, right? It's made another all-time high, and that's what we're doing. So again, me fighting the all-time high until we go back to smash into another all-time high, which is like this 675 gamma wall, that would mean that we're up, right? So maybe you look at shorts there. And I know it sounds crazy because like, oh, D, but it's the all-time high. It's not the equities all-time high. Copper has this weird thing where it smashes into an all-time high, then does this massive reversal. And it has been doing that for quite a long time. Here's another one. So here's an all-time high, smashes through the all-time high and reverses. It keeps doing that, right? It keeps doing that. This one was an overshoot, but it still did it, right? So it looks super bullish, right? It's like, wow, it's going up. Yeah, everybody buy. And then, and it all just explodes. So yeah. So yeah, I do agree with that assessment. I do think that there is an increase of demand for copper because of the disruptions and everything. So yeah, it's pretty spot on, that analysis. And you know, don't know how much stock you put in an intraday trader's longer term outlook, but you know, my weekly plans are pretty decent. So again, not financial advice or anything like that, just my opinion. But yeah, I am bullish on copper in general. Obviously, if you have a day where the profile is telling me that we're going short on that day, well, clearly I'm not going to fight that. But in the long run, definitely. Right, let's get back to our intraday charts here. Oh, did you guys see Trade Days? I don't know whether you even know about Trade Day. Trade Day is like I mean, I really like them. I did a founders interview for my Drink with Traders podcast when I was still doing that like a million moons ago. And both James and Steve are from the industry. Like James was a trader on the Life Exchange, both him and his wife. And then Steve was a broker. So that's how they met. And yeah, so up until literally yesterday, their evals were 5 days long, right? So that's a little bit annoying because you have to like commit time and you're like, oh God, I have to do at least 5 days. And then if one of those days is a loser, then puts me into a week. And it just like gets a little annoying, right? Well, they came up with FastPass now. So they have Quick Pay and FastPass. And FastPass is like, it still has a consistency rule, but it's kind of closer to what TopStep have done. So it's a 45% consistency rule and effectively 3 days to pass. So to me, that's like really acceptable. So I do have one of their accounts to try out, and I have the old one as well. But yeah, the differences between the two, again, I think it's more similar to what TopStep is doing on those new ones. So let me just see. FastPass, there we go. So let's have a look at the differences. So this was the old model, right? You can choose between intraday and end of day. If you choose intraday, obviously it's going to be quite cheap now, actually. It's like 62 bucks. That's pretty amazing. Great thing about them, no activation fees. So this is what you would pay. Now, the end of day is always going to be more expensive because you're effectively giving yourself more room to do something. Fair enough. Don't have a problem with that. So this was the old one, right? So 5 days, consistency has to fall under 30%. Great. Now, here's the thing where I really love trade day. Daily payouts from day one. I mean, you know, who can beat that, right? Now, the only thing that was a little bit annoying for me was the 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. So now they came up with this one. Intraday is not available for that, so it's end of day. I like the 100Ks these days. I don't know why. I've kind of changed from 150 to 100Ks. But consistency is 45%. Minimum trading days to pass is obviously 3 because you have a consistency at 45%. But the funded rules, and again, minimum profitable days, 5 times 200. Minimum days to pay out, 5. Right? So it's a lot kind of more similar to a TopStep model. So I like that. I like that. But you don't have any minimum balance in this one, I don't think. Yeah, just the minimum payout request, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I like this. I like it. I like it. So trade day are, you know, a firm that everybody sleeps on. I don't know why. It's like, guys, hello? Like, what is happening? So yeah, I really like that fast pass offer, and I shall be dipping into that for sure. Alright, so those of you who have Blahtech GL, there is a new update available, obviously on TradingView for now. I have Blahtech GL clearly on Ninja as well. That will come as well. We're just waiting for the QA from Ninja guys to approve the indicators, and then the Ninja indicators will be live. Ah! And then onwards and upwards. So those are the charts that you're seeing here, right? So that's, what have I got on here? I've got Blahtech market profile, Blahtech daily range, Blahtech gamma levels, Blahtech VWAP. Now our Blahtech VWAP actually has settlement that is configurable by time of day. So obviously different exchanges end at different times. And then I also have my little session levels indicator. I mean, I don't know whether I'll be releasing that. It's really simple. It's just like, you know, A plus B equals C. But it's a nice visual indicator because I don't want to draw anything. I'm sick of drawing things on the chart. Right. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Is gold going to drop? Hey, I don't know. We're watching the same chart. We'll see. The bot thinks so, but I'm a little bit skeptical because it's still like every time it comes down. Let's have a look at gold behavior. So every time it sort of dips down to that Asia high, former Asia high, it creates a buying wick. So I don't like this price action here. But basically it's supposed to rotate at least to VWAP. And if the Asia range is not massive, and interestingly enough, it deemed that the Asia range was not that massive. But why? Because I think it was... Yeah, I need to have a look at that. Because this is where the tweaks... This is why you do like walk forward testing. Because I've had my algos in another platform, and some of the translations that I'm doing, I'm like, sometimes I get them wrong, obviously. So I need to see why that is. So I needed to, and yet it's kind of tracking VWAP, so I don't quite get. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a look at that later, obviously, not now. But yeah, we can always pull it off manually at VWAP, right? I don't know whether it's gonna even allow me to... Let's see what happens. Because, you know, obviously, yeah, so it's not gonna let me because it's a bot, and you try and pull it manually, it's just gonna because I routed it through the ATM, not just through, you know, this thing. But I basically wanted to manage the entire position itself. So the only thing that I can do with it is close it. And that's perfect for me because, you know, you don't want to be messing around with things too much. But yeah, so we'll see if it continues to mess around in this area and it doesn't come down to close this TPO, so this 30-minute time frame, in 4 minutes below the initial balance, then I'm going to be very skeptical. Copper is going into an uptrend here, so it's trying to break outside of the Asia high. I like this setup better because it is the neutral day fade, and gold is a little bit sketchy for the London session. However, copper is a neutral day type gold mine on London. If you're okay taking like a few ticks here and there, like 20-30 ticks, rather than, you know, looking for bigger opportunities, most London days on copper are neutral. So when it goes up above the initial balance, you can definitely expect that it's going to fall back into it. And then the other side, you have to watch order flow to see when it starts to turn around, but it's like the same thing, right? So it basically pulls back into the middle. Why? Because a neutral day type is a kind of like a rubber band effect on both sides of that first hour of trading range. So when it extends both sides, and yet neither side has a big sort of single print or FVG or whatever the hell you want to call it these days, you experience this like ping effect, like rubber band effect, where it goes back to the middle. Now, in and around this time of the day, we already have LME trading, so that's very, very important for copper, and you will see them make a real decision of what they want to do with it. But, you know, gold and copper are sufficiently different that, like, for example, yesterday the bot ran a short mean reversion to VWAP, and copper was silent because it deemed that the breakout wasn't big enough. I deemed that it was correct, so then I did a manual entry. But both of them worked. So gold did rotate to VWAP and copper did go into a screaming uptrend. So, you know, they're not twins by any means. Andreas says, can you go a little bit more in depth on failed auctions and how do you trade them? So if you go to my channel, obviously after the stream, you will see a little AI video. I don't know whether you watched it already, but there I talk about the extensions having to be reasonably shallow. Now, I don't mean like just one tiny tick and then a reversal. That could work, but the whole point is that you have to have some sort of a high velocity sweep through the IB high or IB low, and then a committed reversal. So on tape, that actually looks pretty clean, but price action on the actual charts can look very different. The main thing is that if it goes over sort of 1 time the size of the initial balance, that's a little bit too big. And this will vary from product to product, but generally, if you're over 0.8 times size of the initial balance, so already going into that normal variation day, I suppose you could call it, it's already too late for a failed auction, and at that point, failed auctions are low probability. Anything under that kind of 1 time size of the IB is game for failed auctions, right? So it has to be a little bit smaller than you would expect, right? So if you get, let me see if something is extended massively today. Let's see what DAX is doing actually. City Sarah's here. Good morning, good morning. And what's silver doing as well? Yeah, okay, so here's, it's not a failed auction because it's still neutral time. Alright, so we keep looking. Alright, here's DAX. Now, I'm going to use a different chart because actually, do I have it on this? I'm going to have to do a little bit of wrestling here, but I know I have it on Apex. Oh no, I have it on Traderify as well. Okay, that's easy. One thing I do have to do is to change the times of the sessions here, because I obviously just copied a copper chart, that's not going to be right, because this one is in COMEX hours, and that's a little wrong. I can show you DAX, guys. Guess what? And then also the settlement is 1630 here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to make a template out of this. And that template is going to be Blahtech DAX. Okay, so this was a perfect example of the failed auction today. The pop outside is fairly shallow, right? So you look at the size of the IB, and then if you measure that, let's take a ruler. So what's the size of it? Well, let me just make sure that this is in ticks, actually, because again, I'm still getting used to this whole ninja drawing business, and I am an old woman. I think I put it in ticks, but I need to check that. No, it's still in price, so let's do ticks. Okay, so, oh, it is ticks. Is it ticks? 159, I think, is the size of the initial balance, right? 150, let's say. The extension itself is only 40. So, failed auction, yes. If you then look at how the price behaves when it starts to fall into, after that sweep, if it starts to fall into the initial balance, that's when you're looking for a push in the opposite direction. Just give me 1 second, I'll be back in a minute. So that's funny. So my husband was watching and he noticed that I typed in something wrong because of my number dyslexia, or however you want to call it. So, and that's what I'm talking about, right? So let's just check that. He's so pedantic. What would I do without him, eh? So apparently I typed in 1340 and not... Is that right? And not 1430. Yeah, you see? You see? Numbers dyslexia at work, guys. Yeah, there we go. Apply. That's hilarious. Yeah, so that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, you know, a pop outside of the IB to be like pretty strong. And then the sweep, you know, a whole bunch of big orders popping off. And then reversing. That's your real failed auction. Anything that is meandering and that it doesn't know what to do and that it's kind of popping outside but it's all like very slow, that's not a real failed auction. And that's more likely, like it could look like it's failing the auction because it starts rotating, but it's the speed and velocity of the price that you really want to focus on in that situation. Now if it goes way too far out, like the Tokyo session here, that's not Tokyo, that is that New York? Yeah, so like New York session yesterday, right? This is the New York session. And it starts to go way outside, that's already too late, right? As soon as it extends like way past the initial balance, you can then look for some sort of a pullback and a continuation rather than going, oh, this is now a failed auction, especially when it comes to equities. Equities are so dangerous on the whole upside trend and all that, and it's just not worth it. You know, many people have lost their shirts trying to short equities. All right, let's see the aggregated P&L here of all of our positions. So we're just pushing 1.7K here. Again, I don't copy trade in the traditional sense where I use copiers because I don't trust them. But I do use my bots on like several different charts across different accounts. So that's what you're seeing here. It's an aggregated P&L of all of my funded accounts at the moment. And there's only 4 of them right now, so yeah. All right, so hopefully that answers your questions on question on failed auctions. If you have any further questions, make sure to ask me. Raphael says, I was going to say that Target is very ambitious. You'd be quite surprised with gold, right? Yeah, Target can be ambitious to rotate all the way down, but remember that on gold we do still have that gamma wall at 4,500, and really if we go below 4,550, there's not much to really stop it. The ATR low is sitting way below that at 4,480. So what's to stop it from rotating all the way down? It might look ambitious, but we've seen gold make those kind of movements. And you know, you can say to yourself going, oh, there's no way this is happening. But I can tell you from experience, it has happened, it shall happen, it has happened definitely, and it will keep happening. So, and you know, we have skewed to the opposite side. If I move this so you can see the Blahtech supply and demand. So what this trend thing does, it's not a zigzag. It's not like, oh, it's making higher highs and low lows. It's actually looking at whether the supplies or demands have been broken, and they have to be significant size, right? So only the demands and supplies that have significant moves away from it, they will be then deeming that the opposite side demand has been broken, and therefore now that's no longer a pullback. It is actually a proper reversal of trend. So that's how I read trend. I don't read trend through fucking trend lines and through you know, things like zigzag and higher highs, higher lows. Like, I don't care about any of that. It's like, is it breaking demands? And if yes, that's the change of trend. If it's not, it's a mere pullback. So that's the market stalker's way of reading trend. And I prefer it, you know, because it can tell you very clearly whether you're pulling, like, for example, if we fall back into a demand level, unless we've gone way past on the day, like to the downside, and therefore that represents a mean reversion opportunity intraday, I would be looking at, you know, a further break of that demand, and not like, you know, trying to pick bottoms in a downtrend, in a potential downtrend. So, you know, whoa, we've got rain. So we're supposed to have like, I've got a rubber roof as well, so that's gonna get loud. Maybe I should do can you hear that? Is that really loud, or is it just me? Dave says, interestingly, problem is not copper coming through the Strait of Hormuz. The sulfur that is needed to process copper is being bottlenecked in the Gulf. Yeah, but it's also the problem with the war, right? Whatever, it's not like they're transporting copper through it. There's sulfuric acid and stuff and all that is going through the Gulf. So therefore you can't, you know, you can't create it unless you go through the Gulf. And that's just currently very, very difficult, right? All right, let's see the aggregated P&L. So we're doing well. I mean, can we squeeze out about 4K on the day here? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Trade Day blocks Vietnam. It's not just Trade Day. A lot of the countries block Vietnam. If they don't block it, then they have some sort of restriction. Like, for example, Tradeify, you can do evals and you can do sim funded, but you can't do live. So if you happen to get a call up to live, you wouldn't be able to do it. Similar with TopStep. TopStep allows you to get into the sim, but there is a lifetime cap. Can't remember what it is, but there is a lifetime cap on those countries, and that's not down to the companies themselves. You have to understand that a lot of those companies, or actually all of them, when they're in the futures market, they actually have to comply with the CFTC rules and the NFA rules and a whole bunch of stuff, but it's usually the CFTC that has a list of approved countries. Serbia is not on it. I mean, not that I'm not an active resident there at all, even though I was born there, but I basically only took up the British citizenship because I had, bad associations with the country, and a pain in the ass when I was traveling on the Serbian passport like 20 years ago. It was horrible. So because of that, I did not renew my citizenship over there, and I am only a British citizen now, precisely because of those problems. Like, who needs that, right? It's like, sort yourselves out, countries, and then we can talk. But yeah, there is there's a very good reason why I love living in the UK, despite the high taxes, and you can't save anything for the life of you. And they take like 40 to 50% on the tax bracket that I'm in, and you just can't escape it really. You can kind of minimize it to a degree, but however you turn it, whether it's through like dividend payouts, you go over a certain amount, you will still get stunk for like 33%. Found that out the wrong way, or the hard way, back in the day, many moons ago. So yeah. Noor AI says, "What's up, Dee? You look amazing as always." Thank you. I actually had some dental work done yesterday, so I do feel a little bit like my whole mouth is really sore because I took off my my lower, because long story short, I had this car accident like many moons ago, and it actually it looks like I had like a dislocated jaw or something. So I didn't notice at the time because I had a concussion and a whole bunch of other things happening, and then over time the jaw just kind of misaligned. So this is why I had the lingual braces and then the aesthetic braces on the bottom in my 40s, yeah, like a teenager. But yeah, the bottom side is done. I still have the lingual braces on the top to just kind of get because I was getting like locked jaw for like, I think it was like a whole year. I couldn't open my mouth properly, so I was like eating by like weirdly putting a fork in, like it was really odd, and it was painful, right? So I want to be healthy, I want to have the full functionality of my jaw as I age. And it was like now or never, effectively. So 3 years ago, I decided to sort that out. And now the bottom part is done. The top part still has like one wire left, so that's going to be coming off at some point. But because it's like behind the teeth, you can't even see it. So yeah, I think the lower one was a lot more visible. And it was also kind of pushing my lower mouth like a little bit out, which made things look a bit weird. Well, I've got my lower teeth back, but as a result, like I said yesterday, because I have a pretty small mouth, I'm only a small woman, and they're always like doing stuff to it. So it's like I'm quite sore. So I did put a nice load of makeup for you guys and girls so that I can look presentable. But I'm happy to have my lower teeth back. I can tell you that is quite liberating. The trade, they changed their VOD plans when you're funded. When you're funded, it's trading drawdown until you get above the buffer. No, it's still end of day. So if you choose the end of day on the eval, on the old evals, it's going to be end of day in the funded as well. If you choose intraday, obviously that's going to stay in your funded too. I don't think that they changed that in the funded, but let's have a look, because I wouldn't be surprised if they actually have more favorable conditions in the funded, because they are trade day. Like they always have very, very nice things on for the traders. So if we go, let's see, if we go intraday, let's move this away. Quick pay, intraday. So these are the evals, and then funded. Yeah, so it stays intraday because that's what you chose on the eval, right? If you go end of day, and then you go funded rules, it Is this a marketing thing? I'm gonna reach out to James because they had. That's wrong. Because no, it's end of day. Like I promise you, because I've had I have funded accounts with them. It's not. It is not intraday. It is end of day. Because so when they, let me tell you a story. So on Sunday they sent out the first email, and something else was on this, and I was like, yeah, that's a little bit confusing, guys. Can we fix it? And James fixed it actually. But yeah, I don't know whether this is probably a typo. So it's possible that James Thorpe is watching as well. So James, if you are watching, is this right? Calculated intraday? Unless he's thinking that if you hit the max drawdown intraday, but again, that's super confusing. So if you hit your max draw, yeah, okay, no, I know what they're trying to say here. Not very well worded, I will give you that. So basically, the max drawdown, it's not going to get calculated at the end of the day so that you can go past it, is it? So it is an intraday calculation, because if you hit it on the day, if you like smash all the 3K of drawdown on the same day, you lose the account. That is intraday. But it is an end of day final calculation in case that you are still not hitting the 3K, right? Again, you know what? I've noticed something with the marketing people that are working in the industry today. They are the ones who are responsible for the most, the discombobulated, kerfuffled messaging. It's like, just be clear, for Christ's sakes. Like, just explain. It's not that the intraday is trailing with your intraday things, but if you hit it intraday, if you lose the entire 3K intraday on the 100Ks, yeah, it's game over, right? So that's calculated intraday, but it's still an end of day drawdown. So, yeah. Again, what is wrong with marketing people? It's like, just say it like it is, man. They think they're saying, and I've seen this actually 3 times now in 3 different companies where the marketing team has put trading max drawdown calculated intraday. Therefore, us, on the other side, the traders, we're immediately thinking, huh, so that trails intraday then. No, it doesn't trail for, like, yes, it trails intraday, but if you don't hit it on the day, it's still an end of day drawdown, right? That's how I'm reading it. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I've seen this mistake. Like Apex did it, TopStep did it. TopStep had the same messaging on the live account. It's like intraday daily loss limit trail, and everyone just freaked out. They were like, "Oh my God, you trailed me intraday." It's like, well, yeah, if you hit your daily loss limit intraday, but it's not like it trails the open position up and down. I think that's what you guys are talking about, right? It's not gonna, if you pick end of day on any eval, it's not going to smack you in the face in the open position. And that's what the marketing people don't get, who are not traders, clearly. It annoys the fuck out of me. Like, seriously. Like, why can't they get, like, one of us to do their marketing messaging? You know? It would be so much easier. So, yeah, the righteous one, it's wrong marketing, I promise you. I will reach out to James, but if James is around, because I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he popped in. I told him I was going to talk about them. What's up? Seems like we're having a good day with silver. Not silver, copper. And it's not a good day yet. Remember, this is aggregated over 4 accounts. So, it's an okay day, you know. But at the same time, I would like to get this whole day to be over 4K at the minimum. But then when I'm smashing it, it's between 8 and 11K on the funded. So, yeah. So we'll see. For now, it's going well. The copper is looking very well, actually. Gold gone quiet, but it's still game for, you know, maybe a VWAP test. Maybe once we get into COMEX, which is going to be in about 40 minutes or so. And I'm going to stay here, obviously, with you to watch it. Because now I can. Because now I can. Benjamin says, get some AI. I do have some AI, but I don't let it you know, you can't let AI do things on its own. Like, because I've got Cursor, my team likes Claude. I'm going to be honest, I tried Claude. I don't like it. It looks like DOS, like that terminal. It's like, what are you doing? Is this 1990? And, you know, I would know because that was the first operating system that I was introduced to when I was 12, 1992, right? And it looks like that. So I'm like, why? I also asked it to create some templates and stuff. I don't know whether it's because it doesn't have my brand voice or what, because I've worked so much in Cursor, but it looked like shit, frankly. So I don't know. My team loves it. Obviously, they're more nerdy side, and they, you know, I usually create the initial shell of the indicators that I want to use, and then I kind of port it over to them, and then they do all the fancy stuff, obviously. But yeah, and I don't know. It's just the way that interface is. It's like you can't see it thinking. I love reading the thinking of the AI because you can see it when it starts going wrong or when it starts hallucinating or mixing apples and oranges as well. So I like to stop it and go, what you doing? And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I thought we were doing this. And I'm like, I explained it to you like in a very detailed prompt, and yet you still decide to go off the rails and do what AI does. So yeah, I do work with AI. It's very good to increase your kind of workflow and stuff, make everything faster, but you can't let it just do it. Like vibe coding, it's all very well, but vibe coding produces some very bad code. And it always goes for the most complex solution instead of the most straightforward, simple solution. So it's like, what gives? Why? Why have you done that? There's a better way. Yeah, so Sandy is saying to to the hobby, hello, yeah. Oh, I see, yeah, okay. Andrea says, thanks, D, okay. BYO says, we are getting the real D now. I'm so here for it. Absolutely, man, absolutely. Do you have a video that I can watch on a gamma squeeze? Is it underneath the program or is it underneath your page where you go over it? Just trying to think, because I did do the video on mental Q levels. I think it was like the second or third previous video on the long forms. I don't know, did I talk about the gamma squeeze? Because I talked about how the gamma levels work, what gamma positive and negative is, but honestly I don't remember whether I mentioned gamma squeeze. I might have. So we can talk about it now. So gamma squeeze is a condition where, let me see if I can find, let's see what crude oil is doing actually, because where is my crude oil? Here we go, it's here. You need to have a gamma wall that the price is reaching. We don't really have that here because it never actually reached it. The primary idea of price being close to a gamma wall is that the dealers are effectively short 90, for example, if we look at crude oil here. They're short 90, right? Why? Because they have short puts. It's a guess, you know, it's a guess. They could be long gamma, they could be long as well, but usually those are slightly odd conditions. I mean, they could be long here, I don't know, but the whole idea of a squeeze is if they reach 90, and it can be a long or a short squeeze. So in this case, it will be a short squeeze. If they reach 90 and the prices start to go below it, and then the price holds below it, the dealers have to keep selling, which amplifies the movement through that gamma wall and beyond. Why? Because the whole point of dealers is to be flat. In the dealer verbiage, that's called being delta neutral. So at the end of the day, they have to be completely flat, as in like flat. But throughout the day, they should also maintain market neutrality. So when the price action puts a wrench in the works, like for example Trump says something, let's say today we say deal is on the table, is done, the war is over. Obviously they're going to try and go through the 90, and that's the point where the dealers have to start dumping positions and selling more in order to maintain the flatness in relation to the core positions that they've sold to retail. That's how it works. I actually have a page on my website because I do have a little blog where I write stuff, and I think it actually describes it pretty well. Let me just have a look at my links here. It shouldn't be too far. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna post a link into chat. So that explains the gamma squeezes effectively. So if you go down to the part where it talks about, actually let's read through some of this, because I think I wrote it pretty well. Of course I used AI for the images, but the rest of it was me. So if you have a guy who owns a toy shop, so I'm calling him Dan. Me, Dan. He's got some toys. So if you walk in and you say, hey, I would like to buy something next week that's coming out, like let's say it's a new Lego set or something, and he goes, yeah, sure, let me give you, you know, a ticket, and you can just then walk in anytime next week and you will get it for whatever the price is now, regardless of what the prices will be next week. So that's effectively what the dealers do in the options. They basically give you sell you a ticket so that you can buy something at a price that was active at the time of you buying a ticket. That's what the option is. But if the prices start going past a certain amount, he has to start buying with that breakout, effectively, with the prices going up. Why? Because he sold you a ticket and he wants to be flat. So does that make more sense? With you know, if it gets up to a certain point and, you know, the prices stabilize and start falling away, he can basically then be still okay because he's hedged appropriately, right? He's not underhedged or overhedged. He's just right. Nothing much to do, right? But what the problem is when gamma squeezes start happening is that the prices start moving past these levels where they've sold you these tickets, right? So now they have to keep adjusting how many positions they hold, right? Market making 101. And sometimes he might buy more of them, but sometimes he has to sell. And this has to keep happening throughout the day. Now, these days, the market making activities are all automated, so it's not like there's a dude there, you know, going, oh, I must buy more. Like, they have algorithms that will, like, they use Delta to tell them how much they should be buying. And we're not talking like 1 or 2 lots, right? They operate in like lots of 100 to 700 lots. Like, it's an insane amount of business that they do. But that's basically the gamma squeeze. When the prices go either above or below the prices where they're short, effectively, they have to keep going with the price movement in order to remain flat, to offset the losses that the original core position is creating. Does that make sense? It's a fascinating concept, but it's so mechanical. So mechanical. That's what I like about it. Joe says, good morning, Dee. You are long on copper and short on gold. That is correct. Yes. If these are correlated, they're correlated. They're both metals, but they're not twinsies. And I spoke about that in the beginning of the stream. They have a correlation that is sometimes higher, but today I don't think is that high at all. So I'm just going to glance at the correlation coefficient quickly. Yeah, so the correlation in a 5-minute time frame between gold and copper is actually negative at the moment, slightly negative, minus 0.3. and that means they will move in pretty different directions. They can get correlated more as COMEX starts happening, but throughout the London session, you have the LME that trades copper quite a lot. However, gold is not really traded on the LME at all anymore. They used to trade precious metals. They stopped in like 2022. But now like copper basically starts getting its own idea of what it wants to do on the day. And gold is just like, nah, we're waiting for COMEX paper to step in, then we'll decide. And that's what causes the difference between them. So it's not, you know, I've seen in the industry that a lot of people are mixing hedging and spreading. And they don't even know what spreads are. It's just fascinating to me that, you know, you're in the industry, you wanted to change your life, and you can't be bothered to find out what the difference is between like hedging between the same products, like M and Q and Q, and what is an actual spread, where you're short one metal, long the other, for example. That's a spread, right? And why does it work? Because the metals are not twinsies. They're not the same product at all. Like, but all of the metals are commodities that exist in the world, and they all have their own supply and demand. Can they get correlated in some days? Yes, but that usually happens only when you have heavy risk off, risk on sentiment. Then everything correlates. You know, equities, gold, crude oil, copper. Like everything just starts to get anchored to this one piece of news, and everybody's moving to whatever the news is, right? But when you don't have that, it's literally just a case of gold is doing its own thing during London, copper is doing its own thing during LME. We might come into, you know, some heavy correlation as COMEX starts trading, but we have a little bit of time, and hopefully we can make a little bit of dosh by then. If, yeah, so the bots actually have a condition where if nothing's happened by COMEX open, which is 1:20, my time's in about 19 minutes, but I count 1:30 because nothing really much happens, and there's not too many platforms that will allow you to start the profile candles on 20 minutes past. You would have to go down to a 5-minute. I mean, I suppose on Ninja you do have a possibility of using a 20-minute time frame. I don't bother with that, frankly. I really don't. So I just go half hour, be done with it. So if it doesn't get anywhere, gold is actually going to get killed. So it's going to get... It's basically going to be an early time-based exit because we don't want to be in on it. So I'm going to see whether that... Because it has to flatten in order for the next bot to run. So yeah, I think that's the condition from what I remember. Let me catch up in chat, guys. Days prior live, can you do a breakdown on how to have gotten into gold this morning? I guess it would have been somewhere around 4 a.m. your time. No. So this bot runs after 7 a.m. my time. And basically it banks on a couple of conditions. The first condition is that we're going to try and get above Asia high or Tokyo high, because I'm this Asia high that is here, that's actually Tokyo high. So when Tokyo ends, the line gets created, and then the bot and me as well. You know, this is my model. This is what I used to look at. It's just that this time around I can sleep through it. So basically, you're looking at a failure of the price to advance above Asia high, and then to return into it. Now, how you enter is usually by looking at order flow. My bots have a condition of, the first step is that the shakeout candle that causes the pop and a reversal, kind of like the failed auction, is kind of a similar concept. To basically have one candle that kind of smashes through the Asia high, but then eventually struggles and falls back into it with a little bit more volume on that opposite side. That's your entry, right? So I can show you where the bot entered. And like I said, I have some differences between like the two, some accounts, and I probably just put the wrong, because I have got these like bot placeholders, and I probably just put the wrong one on there. This is one of the bots that is running it correctly. I don't know why this one went into this massive massive, weird, horrendously large target. But yeah, so let's have a look at the condition. Okay, so it deemed that the candle here had enough volume that like you look at the preceding volume and then you look at this one. It had a little bit higher volume. So it's like, okay, this could be an exhaustion bar. So it puts a little diamond on it, right? Then after that, we look at another candle that tries to fall back into the Asia range, but is not particularly successful. So it still marks off the volume that was bigger, and it gives me another diamond. No entry yet. Only when the price falls into the Asia range, and I have it set pretty aggressively, right? So it's like only a few ticks acceptance, that's more than enough. And I do use a particular size of the ATR to figure out if the failure back into the Asia range is too large, in which case we stay out because it's rotated too far deep, or it's just right. So there's a piece of code that accounts for that. But yeah, in this case, we have a situation where it just accepted and then decided to bounce away from it, and then it got into a range, and then we were in a bit of a drawdown, so I wasn't sure. But eventually it's now still trying to go into it. Unfortunately, it's going to run out of time, so it only has like 23 minutes to rotate down, and then it's over. And this one, like I said, this, I probably put the, now that I'm seeing this, I probably put the placeholder, bot placeholder for another set of rules. Because I'm routing them through the ATM, so they have to follow that. All right, yeah, so 23 minutes, and then this one will be killed. And I will also need to close this one, wherever it is, it doesn't matter. Because once you get into the COMEX session, the pullback is quite high probability, so I don't want to sit through that. So I'm going to be killing and taking some profits. Some dosh. Ka-chink. Is that rain? Yes, that was rain. It seems to stop now. Andrea says 200k is the cap. That is the, I think that's top step. Yeah. Ignacio says hello from Canary Islands. Oh my goodness, guys. We are... We're all over the place. I love that. Don't you love that about technology? That we can all just connect through the internets. Just like that. Yeah, Genius K says trade day for quick pay intraday. Yeah, check it out, guys. Check it out. You get the best discount with Grasshoppers, which is my little code there. What is trade day? Not heard of this one. Trade day is another prop firm, but it flies under the radar because they're smaller and they don't have nearly as many affiliates as some of the other big boys, right? But in my opinion, they're actually right up there with like Tradeify, because they have amazing rules. And if you go for the original option, you literally, like there was, when I was testing them out, and like I said, since then I got to know them really well. We did a podcast, with them to find out about their lives. That's actually on my channel. You can watch that after. So if you go into Drink with Traders podcast, it's a few years old. So they literally just opened the firm back then. And they were just so nice. They come from the industry. They are, James was a trader like us, like Hoop, like Hogue, like all of them. He was in the pit. And it's, that's what you want. You want a guy who is actually a trader. And that's the same thing with TopStep. It's the same thing with Tradeify. Michael Patak and Brett, they are both traders, right? They were traders first, and they understand the community. So that's what you want. Whenever I see super young prop firms cropping up, I can immediately tell whether it's like a cash grab or not, just by the way they structure their rules. And I'm like, really? But yeah, trade day kind of flies under the radar of everybody. And I don't know why. I think it's just because they maybe they're not the biggest, right? So they're a small firm, smaller. They're big enough, but you know, you now have these giant monsters like Apex and Apex and TopStep, and some of the smaller guys are like, that's fine. And yet they have probably the best rules in the industry, right? So it's like you go over, like, let's say you're in a 50K and you have a really good day on the first day. On the old, like, sort of 5-day evals, you get into a funded, no consistency rule, day one payouts, you just need to get over that minimum balance. So you're over 2K, let's say you make 3K on the day, you can get $1,000 out that same day. It's like, you know? So I tried that. I got into 50K, and I did that. So it was like the first account that I had with them. I'm like, let's see if this actually works, because I'm skeptical, right? I'm skeptical. And they paid me into Rise like that day. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, why are we talking about this? But then it was obviously the 5 days in the eval, that was a little bit of a bottleneck for people, because it's a commitment, right? You have to, like, really spend like at the minimum 5 days slogging it out in an eval. I think they recognize that, so now they've gone down to 3 days. And really, if you can smush it in Globex, like let's say you trade the New York session, then you pop a trade in Globex, and then you go to bed, and then you do the New York session again, rack up the P&L, and then you get into the third day. For Globex, that's 3 days. So technically 48 hours. You can like smush it into 48 hours, especially if you do things the way I do. Just paying attention to the thing. So yeah, again, I would appreciate if you click the link. Yes, it is an affiliate link, so sue me. But I always support the firms that I think are beneficial to a degree. And now obviously with Apex, yes, Apex are drama. And like I said in that Nightbot thing, pick your poison. Mine's already poured. Yes, I'm back to having a couple of Apex fundeds. I don't know, man. Like, they get a lot of stick. But the only reason why everything happened is because of the 20 accounts and sim farmers. I'm not in favor of 20 accounts by any means. I want to be super clear on that. And sim farmers really ruined it for the rest of us. Because when I joined Apex, that was 2021. They were still a relatively new firm. And yet, they didn't have a daily loss limit. They had the intraday trail. But again, the way I trade is really not too big of a problem. And then the word got around that there's a company that opened up. And at first, it was only 5 accounts. Then it became 10. Then it became 20, and that's where all the problems started. Because of the cheap pricing and the 20 accounts, they actually attracted a lot of gamblers and a lot of people who were trying to exploit the system. So, you know, can you really blame them for trying to put a stop to that? Because, you know, we're talking about people looking at the prop industry as if it's a video game. It's like, well, and now I see people saying things like, oh, blowing up evals is just a business expense. Yeah, once you've already made money, it can be a business expense, but not to a degree that some of these simfluencers were doing things, right? They were literally rinsing the prop firms with really unscrupulous practices. And then what happened? TopStep locked everything down, Apex locked everything down, and all the other firms are now pushing everybody into live accounts that are currently not very favorable. It's like I've yet to see somebody who actually comes up with a live account that is an actual prop, because it's all a little bit of a workaround. It's like you prove yourself, but then you prove yourself again, and then you prove yourself again. It's like, I don't want to be doing that. Like, I would rather just have my own live. It should be a stepping stone to your own brokerage account. If you still want to stay with prop firms, that's great. But don't push me into live with, like, I've seen some firms pushing people into live with like $1,000. You can't trade futures with $1,000 on live accounts. You just can't. Like, what are we doing? Come on. But you know, and this whole thing, oh, the best live account. It's not the best. It's actually very, very subpar in most cases across the board. It's subpar. You get less money. And honestly, at this point, I would prefer if, you know, the big boys would just go to the original model where you just get into, like, none of this sim-funded bullshit. Just give us a 5K account after passing, you know, properly and, you know, even the longer evals, I wouldn't mind doing them again. If that would mean you get a 5 or 10K live account and that's it. Like, none of the nonsense. But I know that that's not what the industry wants to see. Because it isn't. It's like they want to see, you know, people who are like, but and then you know what you're expected to do from that live account is nearly impossible, because you know you're like, oh, you have 30% drawdown, but yeah, you can trade with minis. It's like, are you insane? The risk of ruin is like super high. Of course you're gonna get a 30% drawdown if you have a 10K balance and you're using one mini. You're going to get to that 30% drawdown in like a couple of trades. Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical with what's happening on the live side in prop. And I've just moved away from all of that for a very good reason, right? Because I don't agree with it. I just don't agree with where it's going. If we are going to go to regulation and the CFTC rules, then just give us live accounts, right? Just give us a live account, say what it is, and just say, look, the sim step is just a sim step. And I listen, I promise that you will see the day when the regulators step in, there won't be any more sim payouts. I've been saying this for years now, but you know, the regulators are pretty slow. At some point, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 3 years, it might be in 10 years, but you will see a day where the regulators are like, we've had enough, we've seen what's happening, it's all done. No more sim payouts. So again, this is in many ways still a golden era of prop, and we should all just take advantage of it. Have your own account, have prop accounts, try multiple firms, do whatever you can to get as much capital as you can, level up your skills, practice, you know, for a low cost entry. And again, the reason why I maintain that Apex is still a good thing, even though there's so much drama around it, they're still the cheapest, man. Like, nobody else is cheaper. Like, honestly. And if you're blowing up like 10, 15, 20, 30 combines or 30 evals in like the space of a month or 2 or 3, you don't want to be paying, you know, 100, 200 for them. You want them the cheapest possible so that you don't blow up your actual capital and become insolvent before you get to a point of extracting payouts regularly. You don't. So it's like, we can hate on Apex as much as we want, but they're still the cheapest. I'm sorry. Is it a poison? Yes, but I will still keep drinking it. They're not perfect. No prop is perfect. It's absolutely just how it is in the industry. You know, it's the new playing field. Love them or hate them. Still very cost efficient if you're practicing. And yet you get serious, yeah, you can go TopStep, you can go Trade Day, you can go Tradeify, and nothing will please you more to find out that those 3 firms in particular, I don't think they've ever made like too many payout denials. Obviously there was some mess ups with hedging at TopStep, but you know, apart from that, usually payouts are pretty smooth. And same thing with Tradeify, same thing with Trade Day. Trade Day is arguably, for me, you know, from that side of things, very, very favorable. Let's bail out of this position and the 2 others that I've got, because we're getting like way too close to that. Way too close to that time of day. Alright, so now we just have the GC, MGC things happening. And that will be cut off in another 10 minutes time. So yeah. What is the buffer amount after you pass EVA for trade? There isn't one. I actually overshot. As long as you're within the consistency rule, then there's no real buffer. It's not like TopStep where you have to like be like, you know, 50% and then like $50 and that's it. If you, let's say if you take it slower. So I had, when I was doing the other eval, I had one big day, which was like 2,700. It was a fund of 150K. Then I had several days when I made like 1,200. And then because I was under the consistency rule, on the day, I actually overshot the target by like, I don't know, 700. And because it was still under the consistency rule overall, it was still a pass. So it's a, you know, it's a little bit of a different mechanics there. Genius K say, that's the only thing I'm not getting the quick pay this time. Intraday sucks. So it's, like I said, it's not intraday. They are counting the drawdown intraday, but it's not trailing against your open position, if that makes sense. So it's not going to be like, oh, you go into, unless you've chosen the original and intraday. But on the new one, the way I'm reading this is that the max drawdown, if you blow up in a day, yeah, of course that's always going to be, like, let me ask you this, daily loss limit, companies that have the daily loss limit, is that counted intraday? Yes, right? But the trailing drawdown is not intraday. The trailing drawdown, like for example on Tradeify, is still end of day, but it's counted intraday. And this is where the marketing guys mess up things royally. We're getting the volatility jumpiness here on gold, so I may have to just close this just to preserve this capital here. Oops, what happened there? Okay. Yeah, you see something went wrong there with that bot. That's weird. And there's still one open somewhere. There it is. Okay. Alright, we're fully flat. 1.6k from the London session. It's a good start. We're going to see what COMEX brings and then maybe find another trade here on HG. But my bots, so crude oil bot is not going to run today. The conditions are not there. This one would have needed a pretty massive extension during this time of the day. No extension. No go. Failed auctions on crude oil for this time of day are lower probability, so that's going to have to wait. Is there anything else? So now what happens with the bots? Again, this is how I trade as a manual trader as well. This is on my models. So effectively when you get to COMEX open, it locks another new range on gold. So it's no longer the old Asia range. Now we have the overnight expansion, if one has happened. And then it looks for the same thing. It looks for a sweep of the overnight high, which is now all the way up at whatever this price is. It will look for a swipe through 45.72 and in the same conditions to come back down. Or if we fall massively below, the only way that that's going to kick off, yeah, something went wrong with this bot, 100%, because this didn't get cleared. And I can't do anything with it, so it's not even a real order. Yeah, I've got bugs to squash today, it looks like. Yeah, so only if it goes all the way down to Asia low and swipes it, there's a possibility for a bot to enter another trade. Now, on HG, there are two. If it continues to break out, then we go higher. If it swipes it and then reverses the new overnight range high, the bot will catch that too. So again, the same way that I've been trading as a manual trader, that is the thing that the bots are doing. The only thing the profile and all the other things are serving me as a manual trader is to see whether I want to meddle and go, actually, the bot is wrong because it only has like a simplistic set of rules to play off of. And then I'm the one, the human in the loop, right? I decide whether I want to keep that trade or not. So if I see something that is not looking right, I will absolutely step in and meddle. Where am I from? I'm originally from former Yugoslavia. I was born and bred in Belgrade. But then I moved to the UK in the early 2000s and I'm now in England. Lived in London for about 20 years, longer than 20 years. And then we bought a bigger house in the country. So now we're in a beautiful countryside in England with our 7 remaining dogs. We did have 8. Yesterday was a month since Lenny, the daddy of all the pups, passed away. So we now have 7 dogs, 2 of us, and a nice sort of half acres of land around the place. Private dog field a minute down the road. Completely secured for hire. And life is so much better. No stairs. Everything is flat. I always wanted to live in a house that just no stairs anywhere. It's just so you just glide through the whole place. And now I have that. So my current house looks like a giant shed. So I wanted to give you like a house tour, but my husband is a very private man and he wasn't very happy with that prospect. So I might be able to show you like the inside. But, you know, we've had certain situations before where people were a little bit too curious, and when we were in London especially. So, yeah, so you know, he's not comfortable us showing like from the outside because of all the like geolocation and all the AI stuff that people could work out. Even though we're like middle of nowhere, we have one neighbor and then nothing. So if you don't know where the house is, it's like super difficult to find, which is perfect. But yeah, so I probably won't be showing too much of the outside, but you might have seen snippets if you're on my Instagram. I sometimes post like, you know, snippets of dogs in the garden and stuff, and the cows out the back, and they're not my cows, they're the farmer cows. We even had sheep in the winter, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so it's a beautiful place. It's quite modern, and yet, like I said, it looks like a giant shed on the outside. Perfect, absolutely perfect. I have 4 oak trees. 3 of them are super mature. 1 of them is a young one. So we named them by the Star Trek captains. So we have Jean-Luc, which is the main dude. We have Catherine, by Catherine Janeway, of course. We have Michael Burnham in the back. And we have Christopher Pike, who's the little lad. Even though, you know, he's an older dude, but I don't know, somehow the tree looked like a Christopher. So, yeah. What's my Insta? Market Stalkers. Nightbot posted it, so follow Dee on Insta. There it is. So click that and you'll be in. Dave says, metals are back on Apex, so I'm adding to my 2 Apex Legacy accounts. Amazing. Yeah, so they suspended metals for a long time. Obviously, that's not good for me because I'm a metals trader. And yeah, I could trade crude oil, but without my metals, that's like missing a whole piece of my whole approach, right? So it's like, I can't trade. So I wasn't with Apex for a long, long time. And you know, for various reasons, and then I wasn't sure about the whole, like, payout, denial, like, you put a payout request, and you're like, am I going to get it? I didn't want that at the time. So yeah, they seem to be wanting to change things, you know, they do want to change things, but again, like any prop firm, they're trying to figure out which way to go and how to both protect themselves, but to also still remain true to what Apex is known for. It's like you can't really blame them. It's like, yeah, I get it, because I ran a small prop firm back in the day, and you know, it's a difficult math to kind of, especially now with all the evals versus the payouts. Like if your math is not on point, you're not going to survive. Like this is why a lot of prop firms that kind of crop up out of nowhere, super new, they don't know what they're doing, they don't survive because their math is not mathing effectively. But you know, older firms, they want to make sure that they're solvent, clearly, and profitable, so that they can keep existing. And that's no different with any other prop firm, like TopStep, Tradeify. Everybody has to have their math on point. And I know that they get so much stick. Like most prop firms get stick, you know. Apex and TopStep probably more than others. And yet, they offer a service that is still amazing compared to the way the things like used to be back in the old days, which meant plop 2 to 10K of your own cash, then make all the muppery mistakes on that, and then eat up 2 to 10K of your own cash. So do you want to go back to that? Because I don't. Whenever I'm testing something new, I would rather test it on evals and bots that are, you know, maybe malfunctioning some days. I would rather eat that up on the evals or the funded sim than in the actual live account, right? So I know what I'm choosing. All right, so COMEX is open. I'm kind of thinking maybe a pullback on copper down to Asia high, and then seeing what they decide. and where the initial balance is going to get created. Maybe even a test of VWAP. Whoa, what happened there? That was a big date. Jesus. Did you see that? Massive dates. Yeah, so I'm thinking initial balance maybe go down. Maybe fail the auction. That would be perfect. We have the value high at 5,800. Right now we're sitting at a level that is weak. There's not many calls here, but there's a bit of an anomaly in the Greeks, which is why it's on there. And it could be a stopping point for now. But if we get a pullback and then come back to it, I would expect to see a run through. Despite the ADR high being here, there is a supply disruption in copper in general because of all the war shenanigans. So if we do get pullback reversal, I may want to run another long trade at some point, probably in and around the euro close, because that's my next day trading time zone, as I like to call them. So for this time of day, I actually go and I do nothing. So there's no new positions to be had. This is a dangerous time when we have, I know that TopStep always does the orbs on GC and CL. Orbs, for me, I cannot trade setups that are 30% probability outcome. I can't. I need it to be at least 50%, at least a coin flip, right? But generally, all of my setups that I use and the bots that I create, they absolutely have to have, at the minimum, 64% accuracy when the setup turns up. Anything under that, I don't want it. So, orbs on commodities are not a thing. Why? Because you will see head fakes. What's a head fake? For the first 15 minutes, the price goes one way, and then for the next 30 to 45 minutes, the price goes completely the other way. That is not conducive to orbs, okay? Orbs are for equities. Orbs is amazing on equities. Like orb is like on ES and NQ, can be a beautiful, beautiful setup. On crude oil, the only time you're going to see orbs working is if the CVOL, which is basically a VIX of crude oil, falls sub 35 and 32. So you basically get into that illiquid state. And the only movement you're going to get is going to be during the initial balance. So then run an orb, grab whatever you want, and usually it's a 15-minute orb that works better than the 5 and 3 and 1 minute. And that's just stats. That's just like my research that I do on the back end before I write any bots. So I only run orbs on crude oil when it's super quiet. Hopefully that you can derive some value from my experience. Do I sell bots? Yes, but not to retail because they're very expensive. Leasing a bot per month is like 40K. It's like, you know, not very, it's a bit cost prohibitive for most people. But yeah, we only work with institutions. We don't, on that side. So we don't, I will never sell my bots for 99 bucks. That you're never going to see that. You know, the point of bots, here's another problem. Retail thinks that they would purchase a bot and then it just runs. Nothing is further from the truth. You have to have a quant strategist that decides the market conditions that are appropriate for that particular strategy to run. When the market conditions change, you also need to have a quant strategist that's going to switch that bot off. Unfortunately, the retail does not have enough knowledge about that. So to me, anybody who's trying to sell you bots, just run away. Run for the hills. Because, you know, they're assuming that people are naive enough just to go, hey, I'm going to get this and then I'm going to get rich. It doesn't work that way. No bot works in all market environments. There absolutely has to be a strategist deciding. So what the institutions do, they get a bunch of bots. They lease a bunch of bots from different places. And then it's up to them whether they're going to run it or not. But when I'm running my bots, I'm very careful. Like, for example, if I see that we are in a single direction day potential on anything, I will actually switch off my mean reversion bots. And I will only switch those on that bank on some sort of a pullback and a continuation, but I will not run the others. I cannot expect a retail person to have that sort of knowledge and to, you know, expect that I'm going to be managing it for them, because I'm not a CTA. I don't plan to be, never plan to be. And, you know, I don't want to work for a corporation. I went into prop trading because I was a musician. I hate corporations. I do not want to be a part of a corporation. And I just want to trade my own cash, prop cash, and provide education for people. I do not want to be a CTA, ever. I have the qualifications. I could. Tomorrow, I could go into, post a form to CFTC, I could become a CTA. But then that comes with disclosure documents. Then that comes with me having to declare anything and everything that I'm doing. And then the documentation is just wild, like absolutely insane amount of admin. Who needs that? Like, I don't. I personally don't. So I'm a nerd. I like creating bots. I like trading. I just want to do things that generate me income for the least amount of effort. I'm a bit lazy that way. Always go for the thing that will make you the most money for least amount of work. And that is also how I teach. We're not teaching people to scalp 100 trades a day. We're teaching people how to find 3 to 5 opportunities maximum for very tight sort of day trading time zones that are usually about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we've got market stalkers in here. They can attest to that. And we have a framework that allows you to avoid the pitfalls of like, oh, let me just catch this opportunistic move. Don't do that, because that saps your mental capital. Find a good opportunity, milk it for all the ticks that you can, and then go and live your life. That's the whole point. That's my motto to what I'm trying to do with education. And we do that through an institutional framework. So we use profile, we use the auction process, we use gamma levels, we use supply and demand on large time frames. We use Asia ranges, we use, TPOs to figure out the day type and the open sentiment, and, all in an effort to avoid the pitfalls of subpar setups that will only bank you like, oh yeah, great, I made 20 ticks. Yeah, but then it ran for 100. So what happened? What would you rather do? Trade with a massive size and trade 50 trades per day, or do a smaller size at the very least, and then grab 100 ticks, 200 ticks. I know what I'm choosing any day. All right, so that's going to be it for today. Let me see if we've got any questions. AI prompt said, so you left TopStep, wasn't here for 2 years. Yes, so I'm not with TopStep anymore. Again, I said I don't want to work for a corporation. They've turned into a mini corporation, and no hard feelings. I still love the TopStep guys and girls. I'm still friends with everyone. It was a very amicable breakup. It's just that, they're going in a direction that doesn't quite align with my fintech side. And, the whole single platform thing was pretty difficult for me, especially because I was so sick at the time as well. And then I would have to, I have these beautiful indicators, right? They do stuff for me. And then I was running my own show where I had to translate all the levels. So I was literally spending like 20 to 30, sometimes 40 minutes before the stream, putting all of this on their platform. And then I tried to translate some of my bots. And again, I was very sick, so I had a lot of brain fog. And every time I would log in, it would kick me out of the actual screen that I'm supposed to be presenting. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. And then I had an awesome run. 40 days in, they pushed me to live, and I'm like, right, okay. And a lot of that was done with bots, right? So I created like 2 or 3 of them. So I made like 20 grand in a month. And actually more, because I took a 20 grand payout, and then they pushed me into live with 20 grand remaining. And then I'm like, okay, let me switch on my bot. And I get a raw API message. This API key is not enabled for live. So I was like, oh shit, okay. Oh no. And, that was the first time that was last year. So I was like, this is not going to work for me, generally in the long run. And then there were some changes that were coming in, and they wanted one thing, I wanted another thing. And there was just like a clash with goals, with business goals. They're going this way, I want to go this way. And if I stayed there, I wouldn't be able to bring out the ninja indicators. I wouldn't be able to show what I'm working on. I wouldn't be able to, you know, run my other businesses the way I want them to. And it made no sense anymore, right? Plus I have medication that brought me back to 80% health. So I've got a couple of other projects that I'm working on, and obviously Ninja indicators are a huge part of that. And we can also talk about everything and anything. I can show you Bookmap, I can show you Ninja, I can show you TrendSpider, I can show you MotiveWave, Quanta, like literally whatever pops into my head I can talk about. And to me, that is worth more than any potentially contracting money that they were offering. So business goals, divergence, like I said, still love everybody. TopStep will always remain, you know, a special firm because I was with them when Squawk Radio was happening. And no hard feelings, no nothing. They are still a good firm. Did they make a couple of wrong steps? Yes, but they're TopStep. They'll come back from it. I'm not scared for them in any shape or form. So the split was very amicable, right? I just said thank you for thinking of me, but it's a little bit over what I'm currently looking to do. And that was it. You know, we all said goodbye. We said, hey, keep in touch, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm still friends with Hogue. I'm still friends with Hoop. I'm still friends with everybody. There's no hard feelings. It's just business. It's not personal, right? And, you know, if you're mixing personal and professional, that's never a good thing. But, yeah, so just didn't work out in the end. 3 years. It was a good run, right? I was there from the start. I joined them 2 weeks after they started TopstepTV, but it's a very different environment right now, and I want to do my fintech stuff. Dee the nerd wants to do fintech, and that's what I was known for. I was known as a fintech leader in the beginning, and then somehow I totally drifted away from that. So I'm back, guys, unleashed, uncensored. I can smoke on the stream. And we can do whatever we like. Yeah. Tanser says, I could tell you were biting your tongue. Well, it's difficult. You know, somebody asks you, like, here's a practical example. Somebody asked me, hey, Dee, what is a failed auction? And then I have to go on a platform that has no TPOs. And then I have to, like, drag the lines where the initial balance is going to be. And then I have to explain, oh, Dee, what's a poor low? And I'm like, well, the poor low is like, you know, when you have, like, one tick outside of it, it's like, why can't I just show it? But that was, again, they're a single platform company now, and you couldn't show it. So that was, like, you know, a little bit annoying to me. So it's not about biting the lip. It's just like, I can't work off of a single platform. You know, if I want to show you Bookmap and what is going on the order flow, I want to be able to show you, hey guys, this is what a sweep looks like. Yeah? But I couldn't do that. Last time I did it, like, you know, a few months ago, they were like, oh, Dee, can you not show Bookmap? And I'm like, but order flow. It's like, yeah, so again, difference of goals and what they're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, and yeah, it was just time. It was just time to move on. And again, we had a great run. It was really a lot of fun at times, a little frustrating some other times, but mostly fun. And now it's time to go off and do other things, come back to my roots, and to bring out all of these lovely tools that are automating your workflow, and trying to level up everybody's skills by talking about whatever we want to talk about, answering questions about various prop firms, various tools. If you have a question about a platform, I'm more than happy to answer. And that's just something that we couldn't do over there. So it is what it is. But yeah, no hard feelings, all good. You know, we're still all happy-go-lucky. And if they're ever in London, any one of them, you know, or anywhere, if they're in England, they can come and stay in my house. No problem at all. Right? Because they're friends. They are friends, and we remain friends. Do I use heat map on Sierra? I don't personally use Sierra. I use Bookmap, so I use heat maps on Bookmap. I've been using it now for about 5 years, and I personally wouldn't trade without it, because, for example, right now on crude oil, this is crude oil chart or bubbles, we had some exhaustion of selling. And here, exhaustion of buying as well, and some you know, potentially some orders kicking off. But delta is falling massively. So to me, this is more maybe a hallmark for trying to drop down, and then I have to go and see what the profile is doing. No heat maps anywhere here. There is one at 91.70. That is the biggest block of orders. When it gets closer to 91.70, maybe that's a short, but only if they manage to defend that level. So that's how I use heat maps. The crude oil has this thing where the order blocks have to be pretty deep, like they have to be quite a few prices wide in order to stop the price from advancing. If the price starts rising towards that level and the 211 contracts sitting there start disappearing, don't touch it because it's going to run through them. So I resonate with Bookmap a lot better than Sierra. I've tried Quantower heat maps, didn't like them either. I tried ATAS as well. They're okay, but again, I'm just so used to Bookmap at this point that for me, Bookmap is where it's at. So that's just my stack, right? It's my stack. I like to use Cursor AI. I like to use Ninja for execution and bots. I use Bookmap for order flow, and I use my Blahtech ecosystem for any trading tools that will give me the open sentiment and a whole bunch of other stuff. Again, you can have a different stack. Absolutely. If you love Sierra, you love Sierra. That's, you know, absolutely right. That's your stack, right? Doomlord, oh my God. Yeah, I followed you on Twitter. I saw you follow me back. Thank you, mate. Good to see you here. Good fun always whenever you're on. Yeah, what's up with the green lights, dude? Resistance is futile. Get like blue lights, so you know. You look a little bit like Borg Cube, Borg Cube wise, which again has its own appeal. I don't know, you know. Doomlord. I suppose it goes with Doomlord as well, right? Doomlord, the villain of the markets. What is my trade hold average time? Usually it floats between 75 minutes up to about 140, depends on what I'm doing. So if we're more kind of range bound, then that kind of tends to fall down to 75. The shortest kind of trade that I do is usually like 30 to 45 minutes. That would be like a scalp in D terms. But yeah, longer time frames for sure. I never hold, or mostly I don't hold opportunistic trades that will only last like 2 minutes. If something lasts 2 minutes, it's because I entered a setup that is meant to run for like 2 hours, but then Trump opens his mouth and it just kind of drops. And then it hits my target. It happened to me 2 weeks ago. I kicked off a short crude oil trade, went to get a coffee, like literally just stepped away for like 3 minutes. And I come back, the order's not there. And obviously I have this P&L thingy, and it said like, I don't know, 6 grand or 7 grand or something. And I was like, wait, what? So I looked at the chart and it just dropped, and the whole trade lasted maybe 4 minutes because of him opening his mouth. And again, because of the levels that I use, you know, for example, on crude oil, you know, one of the setups that I run would be if the gamma wall is further out, you know, you might want to run it from this ADR high. Actually, this is this average session high, the yellow line, and then it reverses and goes down to the gamma wall. That's where the dealers usually hedge. Now today, because the gamma wall is pretty close, I would actually be looking at this gamma flip to be a stopping point. That is also where the ADR is. It's this little thin ADR line. That's the exhaustion of the average daily range to the downside. So what do we have as a nearest gamma level is the gamma flip at 88. So if it does drop at some point, let's say from this VWAP, even though VWAP reversals are not that high of a probability on crude specifically, they are on like things like YM and NQ with some run-throughs, and on ES. ES actually loves VWAP. So does Russell, loves VWAP. Runs through it, then pulls back, and you can like practically set your watch to it. But crude oil is not like that. It tends to look at VWAP more as an accelerator on a lot of the days than anything else. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Gold likes VWAP. Again, gold touches VWAP, reverses. So, you know, definite behavioral quirks. But yeah, my trade hold times are usually longer. I'm known by that. That's why I have a cow hat, because we hold trades until the cows come home. You know I like my humor. Come on. But anyway, I'll see myself out. Alright, we're going to finish it here. And yeah, so I'm going to see you guys all on... I'm going to... Doomlord says... no windows. You're the original Star Trek guy, right? I'm like borderline Trekkie, right? But I like the new shows. The old shows are fine, you know, the original is fine. But you know, I was a huge TNG fan. Like, we're talking one Halloween, I dressed up as Deeyana Troy. Not to mention that she's got the same name as me, right? And then another one, I dressed up as a Trill. And people who don't know Star Trek, they'll be like, what are you talking about, Dee? But yeah, Doom, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm a huge, huge Star Trek fan. I don't know whether you were here, but I've got 4 oak trees. I named them by all the Star Trek captains. Although we don't have a Kirk. Maybe I should plant a 5th oak tree. Or name one that is in the woodlands, because we have like a woodland area just like to our left. And there's mature oak trees there as well. Maybe one of them can be Kirk. Yeah, that's an idea. Yeah. All right, let's finish it up for today. Thank you all for sharing my time. It was good fun. We did manage to get a little bit of money. I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be a bit of a difficult day. Nothing is super smooth. Things are a bit sketchy. Everybody's still waiting to see what the hell is going on with Iran. So yeah, be careful. As usual, we've got thunder. Got thunder happening and dogs barking everywhere. So I'm going to finish the stream. I will see you again on Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. UK time. Be careful. Watch out for headline risk. Have a look at Financial Juice. It's free. And I will see you again on Thursday for another Metal Markets show. See you very, very soon. Oh yeah, join me on Instagram as well, because I do post more on there now too. And enjoy my song, Dirty Habit, that I'm going to be playing on the outro. Yes, it is me playing the guitar. It is me doing the vocals and the drum programming, but a friend of mine called Vince played the bass. So, that's it. Goodbye.